Still hear you. Yep,
Yes.
I see we're live now.
Got a little bit of a different signal this time. Almost threw me for a loop.
Still hear you. Yep, I see we're live now.
Okay.
Oh, we got that repeat going again.
Bit of a different signal. Okay, there. All right, we should be good.
Good to go?
Yep.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mayfield Board of Education's December 16th, 2020 board meeting. Could I have a roll call, please, Mr. Snyder?
Miss Grosek.
Here.
Mr. Hess.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Teresi.
Here.
And Mr. Finaro.
Here. Our first item, we have our student of the month coming to us from the Mayfield Middle School, Gianna Condelli. Congratulations. Gianna's here with her mom and dad, and Dr. Kelly is going to read a little bit about you. So there you go. Hold that up. Oh, you're hiding your dad, though. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. And we do have some special guests here. Gianna Condelli, who's our student of the month with her mom and dad, are there. And I know Gianna has many relatives out there watching tonight. So Gianna, if you want to say hello, give them a little shout out.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, she actually didn't prepare that. That was nice. Okay, so Gianna, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation to you. The Mayfield City School District and the Mayfield Board of Education present this proclamation that you are holding already. To you, Gianna Condelli, student of the month from Mayfield Middle School. Whereas Gianna is an 8th grade student on Team Ignite at Mayfield Middle School, where her enthusiasm, kindness, and leadership have made an indelible impression on the team. And whereas Gianna radiates passion and joy wherever she goes, and she certainly does that. She brings boundless energy and relentless optimism to class every day, under every circumstance. Gianna remains upbeat and committed to being her best. And whereas Gianna throws herself into her work, striving to get the most out of every lesson and activity. An eager participant, a frequent volunteer, and exceedingly hard worker, Gianna puts incredible effort into everything she does. Whether taking on a role in Romeo and Juliet, building a prehistoric zoo, or developing a version of Survivor featuring Alexander Hamilton. Oh, that had to be pretty cool. Gianna goes above and beyond expectations. Whereas Gianna has become a young entrepreneur, combining her artistic and creative talents with her enterprising spirit to start a business making and selling ornaments. Good time of year from that. So if anybody wants to purchase one, I guess we know where to go. Not only has Gianna made money for herself, but she has committed to donating a portion of her profits to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That is awesome. Whereas Gianna demonstrates the highest standards of character, she treats everyone with the utmost of kindness and respect, displaying an uncommon warmth and compassion for those around her. Gianna genuinely cares about others and selflessly gives her time and energy to help her classmates and teachers. You are a special person. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of all the members of the Mayfield School community, Gianna is named the Mayfield Board of Education Student of the Month for Mayfield Middle School on this day, December 16th, 2020. Congratulations, Gianna. We're very proud of you. And Mom and Dad, we're also very proud of you. Thank you for, giving us such a wonderful young lady to work with day in and day out. She is awesome.
Thank you guys so much. That's so nice.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Did you want to take a picture of the screen?
Yeah, I was going to take a screen since we're not in person. I just want to get everybody
Go ahead. Yep.
Since
Go
we're
ahead.
doing a virtual.
Everybody smile.
We'll take all right, ready?
Okay.
I got it. Thank you all.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Have a happy holiday and happy and healthy new year.
All
You
right,
too.
you all too.
Happy holidays.
Congratulations,
Happy
Gianna. I'll
holidays.
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Happy Thursday.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.
We'll see you.
Bye. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, next on our agenda, we have the presentation from the middle school administration. We have Principal Mr. Destino, Assistant Principals Mr. Shepard, and Ms. McLaughlin. So, Mr. Destino, it's all yours.
Good evening, board, Dr. Kelly and the team here. I'm going to have Dan Shepard share our screen with our brief presentation about All Access and what we've done with our learning at the school during COVID. It's titled Adapting to Change at Mayfield Middle School. And we absolutely had to adapt to change in March when we left our school March 6th. And I'd have to first start by saying thank you to the board and Dr. Kelly's team for supporting our school, all our schools during this challenging time. It is a challenging time, but with your support, we get through it each day, and we really appreciate it. I also want to thank my two assistant principals, Dan and Jackie, who are on here tonight. They lift me up daily when I need to be lifted up, and I totally appreciate them and what they do for me each and every day. And obviously the teachers and the parapros and anyone else that works in our building throughout the day, who have just made a tremendous impact on kids, whether they're learning at home or they're learning at school during COVID-19 time. It's just, everyone has come together as a staff and has really just done a great job producing for our kids. I keep using the words with our staff, be flexible and patient. And been saying that since March. And I've said this over and over again, culture trumps strategy all day long. And I think with the culture at the middle school that we've had over the course of many years, when there is a tragedy or a crisis, teams and schools pull together, and we're very fortunate with a positive school culture and a leadership team and a teacher team and a parapro team that just goes above and beyond for kids. And again, they're just practicing flexibility and being patient during this time. They've been positive, calm, and reassuring. And we started the school year that way. My goal day one when we had our opening meeting was to make things as normal as possible, because the reality is there were so many of my staff that were walking into the building for the first time, where they were going to be around people that weren't their families. And we had to create an atmosphere that morning where it was going to be very safe, and it was going to be very detailed with information on what we were going to do for the year. And we were really happy with our opening meeting. I also want to thank our instructional leadership team that met over the course of the summer to come up with some of the stuff that you're going to see tonight in terms of instruction and in terms of keeping kids safe throughout the day, as well as staff. Again, one of our goals was to continue that positive culture and trying to make things as normal as possible, not just for the kids, but for the adults. And there's a couple of clips here where one day when we had a PD day, I reinvented a summer that many of us didn't have due to COVID. And we had a small little carnival with some food and some games for our staff. And then obviously the Browns have given us something to look forward to this year. And we've had a lot of different fun memories with the Browns, their victory song that we have every time they win. And you can see Gianna to the far left, our student of the month. She helps me with it when we get a win. So just, again, creating that positive culture and maintaining the norm at our school. So some of the stuff that we really love with COVID, because believe it or not, there are some really, really good things that we like that has happened since COVID. And one is our morning meetings. And we borrowed this concept from the elementary buildings. I believe most of the elementary buildings in our district had morning meetings the last couple of years. And each kid has a morning meeting with a staff member, even the kids who are at home, for 30 minutes. And the morning meetings deal with relationships, building trust, sets the tone for the day. As Dan Carlson, one of our 8th grade math teachers, said, morning meetings allow us to be humans with kids, which is a really cool thing. And there's a sample of stuff that teachers do and staff do in the morning with their kids for a half hour. For example, on December 7th, it was a Green Day, and there's questions of the day. The teachers set up the businesses. They go over messages and emails. They go over the Google tasks that the kids can find in Schoology. It's just setting the kids up for the day, setting the tone for learning throughout the day. I'm going to pass this over now to Dan Shepard, and he's going to get into the meat and potatoes of our schedule due to COVID.
Yeah, as Paul said, to continue along that theme, when we were, planning for the COVID restart, both with, we knew we were going to be remote at the beginning of the year, but then the hope that, and then the eventual reality that, we're going to come back to school. There were a lot of things that we had to change. And some of the things we're finding, we really, really do like. And one of the things that we changed immediately was our schedule. We found in March that, having kids deal with 4 or 5, 6 classes a day was really rough. And when we knew we were going to start remote, we said, okay, well, let's try and have kids focus on less classes. Less classes means, you have longer periods of time. So we really did our core classes. One of the things we did is we started with a block schedule where kids have, 2 periods a day really instead of 4 periods a day. And, in a traditional 6 or 7 period day, that's a lot of transition time, a lot of starting and stopping for kids. And the block schedule allows teachers, they're finding, to go deeper into content. It's a lot calmer for the teachers and the kids. The stress level's definitely lower. This is an example here. Now, it looks like they have 4 periods a day, but if you notice on this particular team, they have flex, which is basically just work time and time to check in with kids. So those are just 20-minute chunks where they're not, it's just kind of more check-in time instead of actually, teaching and delving into new content and all that. So they really, like you said, on green days, you see here, they have period 2 for, it's an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and a half. Some teams are playing a little bit. And period 3, the same. And then on white days, they have the other 2 periods. So, COVID wise, there's less transition time, less, moving around in the hallways, but instructionally, we're finding our teachers and our staff really like it. One of the interesting things we found is, due to, I don't remember if it was the power outage day or one of the snow days, when we came back to kind of get back on schedule, one of the teams had 4 periods one day. They just took their time and had 4 periods. And they said they asked the kids how they liked that compared to the longer classes. And they said they were really surprised at how intensely they disliked the 4 periods after doing the block schedule for, a couple of months here. So this is one thing that we've done to change in terms of our core instruction, is having those longer block periods. The other thing, and this isn't really a change, it's just how does COVID help us focus on, or the changes with COVID help us, focus on our All Access 2.0. One of the things Dr. Ward, in the district, the whole focuses on is this blended workshop model. A workshop model of instruction, just, real quickly, means basically that, not everyone has to do the same thing at the same time in a class. We can have a lot of activities going on. And if you have some kids working on some independent work, then you can have a teacher working with small groups of kids. This kind of thing has been going on in elementary schools for a long while. For secondary school, 6-12, it's newer, but it really is a good way to really get to know kids. And that's, as Paul said, relationships first. The better you know kids, the more you know about them, the better they're going to learn from you. That, get to know them as people and get to know them as learners. So the one example I have, I tweeted, you can see on October 5th, this is Mrs. Hastings' class, who's really embraced this workshop model, which works, the best as we possibly can with the mix of hybrid or remote learners and in-person learners. She has 3 or 4 things going on there. You can't really tell necessarily by looking at it, but she's using Desmos, which gives her live data, which she then goes in conferences with kids about. She has some kids working on Dreambox, which is a self-directed program that gives the kids some feedback. Some kids are working on practice problems. And so there's a multitude of things going on, and it frees up her, and you can see her co-teacher in there, Miss Evans, to conference with kids and talk about how they're doing, where they're at, and how to get, to the next step. And down at the bottom right there is actually, it's Mrs. McGarry's class. She's kind of doing the same thing with her STEM class. They're building gliders. Kids are, self-paced, self-directed. They're all at different phases of where this is, but they eventually get to launch those things around the ground and see where they go. But the setup allows her to conference with kids, check on their gliders, give them some feedback. And so that's one thing. While we were talking about that last year, the longer class periods and the combination of in-person and remote students really kind of forced us to push that to the forefront. And our teachers are doing a fantastic job adapting and doing the best they can with it. Let's see, is this one? Yeah, this is.
So, yep. So Paul, Dan, and myself, we have the flexibility within our day to walk into classrooms and get to see all the wonderful things that teachers are doing. And we had to figure out a strategic way to get this greatness out to the rest of the staff. So how do we share, celebrate, and spread the good news about successful strategies? So every week we send out a newsletter, an All Access 2.0 Blended Workshop newsletter that just highlights some of the great things that teachers are doing. What we found is this sharing of information and examples is what really sparks doing within our teachers. So we've sent out this example. There's an example of the newsletter, and then to the on the left-hand side is just a quick end of the unit assessment that our 8th grade teachers put together. And just by sharing this document, it changed the way that our math teachers, so a totally separate department, rolled out their new unit. So again, I think for us, we just needed to figure out a way to celebrate these teachers who are doing amazing things in their classroom every day, spread the good news, and then spark doing with our staff. We also have literacy and math coaches who previously the model looked where we were pulling students out of their elective classes. This year, we decided to switch their role a little bit, and they're pushing into the classroom. We knew coming back from the spring that we were going to have students who needed immediate attention. We couldn't wait. So by having the coaches push in, they're able to collaborate, scaffold instruction, use grade level content to intervene with students. And we found it to be really, really successful.
So one of the things, we had started talking about last year too was flexible learning environments. And again, this is a K-12 thing. And when we were talking about flexible learning environments last year, a lot of what we meant were, we have the big new learning space, and how do we, give kids a little more choice in where and how they learn. We got, thanks to the support of the board and everyone else, we got all the, the new furniture in classes. So we have, tables and chairs that are a little more flexible and movable. So we can set up the rooms based on, the instruction that's going on. COVID has caused us to, rethink even what a flexible learning environment means. And, one of those things is we do have kids on Zoom, and we do have kids in the classroom. Somewhat an ancillary benefit to that is that we found, we're really asking kids, this year, and we know everybody is like, if you're sick, stay home, right? We don't want to take that chance. Well, so a lot of parents are rightfully so, not sending their kids to school if they have the sniffles or whatever. In the past, you probably would have. Well, now that we can Zoom into classes, we're finding that kids are, that flexible learning environment goes all the way to home. Because yeah, sure, we're staying home, but we can still Zoom into class. And it's a big thing, like, okay, well, we always tell them when they call, if you're too sick to come to school, but still sick enough to learn, Zoom on in. Okay, so that way you're not missing any instruction, which is a much more effective way than handing a packet, say, hey, here's what we're doing, go do it on your own. Even, my own kid is at the middle school, and she was too sick a couple days. She jumped right on Zoom for those 2 days while we made sure she was healthy, and she, didn't miss a beat. So that's one thing that is really helping us out here in this environment. I mean, the other thing, we want to give a special shout out. We say all hands on deck. We wanted to make a special point of shouting out our paraprofessionals, because when we talk about being flexible, they really might have had to be the most flexible of anybody. Like, we know how wonderful and flexible our teachers are being, but the paraprofessionals really, in some instances, came, that first day with totally different assignments, because it's just a different environment, and they are willing to work one-on-one with kids. They're willing to work one-on-one with Zoom kids. They're willing to cover classes when we have teachers that are teaching via Zoom and be the person in the class to help out. They really, 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 and you can see Mrs. Carlone, there's the picture on the right. Our parapros have really stepped up, and we couldn't do it without them. So, we wanted to make a special point of publicly really thanking them for all their hard work and their willingness to just do what's best for kids and help keep moving the learning forward. Another part of this flexible learning environment is Schoology. The remote instruction has really forced us to become, better with and use Schoology more effectively. So we at the middle school have set up a structure that you'll see, pretty common across all classrooms. And that, if you look on the left, we have everybody set up, quarter, weekly, and daily folders. And within each daily folder, you can see like I opened up that Wednesday, November 11th for the social studies class, the first thing is like directions. And if you click on that November 10th and 11th, you would see these directions on the right. So a kid, that is either in class or at home that needs the directions more, the teacher would present this too, but if they need it again, they're right there. Okay. Or if a kid on Zoom, something happens at home, they have tech issues, like the directions are right there. And then, we have all the work in there. So we're really trying to make that structure consistent, and we're finding it's helping our students keep organized, which, in middle school is definitely one of the things we work towards.
So due to COVID, we were unable to host our annual music production and choir concerts. So our music department did a great job at adapting to this roadblock and decided to create podcasts. So they did a podcast of Singing in the Rain musical, and then they also put together a YouTube video of Silent Night for each of the 7th grade choir classes. One of the cool parts about this is they were able to share the links out. So parents were able to share these with grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends. So they could view this at any time. They didn't have to physically come in and attend the concert, which was one of the benefits, I guess, silver lining in this.
The Silent Night video made my mom, who Grace is my daughter's grandmother, cry. So it was that touching for her. So it's a really great thing they're doing.
It is. It's beautiful.
And then finally, for me, we just wanted to take some screenshots of our open spaces, and they came at a great time last year when we were doing all access personalization, time of learning. And we're actually another great use this year where it's allowing us to spread out kids, where we can have well over 600 kids in the building in terms of being safe from each other and just spreading them out, using the spaces still in a way that promotes learning. You can see we use the cafeterias and the upper space, and even the lockers and the spaces between the lockers we're using. The funny thing about the lockers, we love that we have new lockers, but we're not using them right now due to the fact that we can't have kids, on top of each other. Well, the kids are proving to us they can go throughout the day, not going to the lockers, getting the materials all the time, using that as an excuse. Now, I see us using our lockers down the road when everything is back to normal and safe, but I can see us using those in a little different way, maybe just to drop off a coat and pick up a coat afterwards. It really has done a great job of the disruptions are really down in the hallways as kids are in classes most of the time, not using that crutch to get out of the classroom to go to the locker or to see a friend or to text a friend.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about our Bridge to Success program. I'm really proud of this program and of what our intervention specialist, Mr. Harris, and our 2 paraprofessionals, Mr. Buell and Mrs. Abalto, have made of this. So we had a group of students who we knew needed a different learning environment. They're the students that were not responding to the 4 walls of the classrooms. Students who typically had attendance issues, they didn't want to come to school, had challenges making connections with staff and peers, and craved some sort of social and emotional support. So we took a long, hard look at how we were utilizing staff. And what we discovered is that the way we had it set up, we were actually being very reactive instead of proactive. So we had to shift our focus. How can we utilize the staff and the resources we have at the middle school to set up an environment that would center around flexibility and provide students opportunities for growth and really focus on their strengths? We needed to find a way to constantly celebrate the small successes, provide opportunities that would really center around the strengths of the student. So we are fortunate enough to have Mr. Harris here, who is our behavior intervention specialist. He's going to tell you the ins and outs of the program and what Bridge to Success has to offer to students.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. So as Ms. McLaughlin kind of said, we were looking at how can we help students who are not successful in a traditional environment feel success. And one of the ways we did that was this Bridge to Success program. So in the morning meetings, which I know I alluded to earlier, ours are pretty similar, but it's really in a smaller environment. We have 12 students, 3 adults. They really get to feel that connection, that someone's excited I'm at school, I have a purpose, I have a place. So we start with our weekly goal sheets, checking habits of minds. I have an example of it there. It's just sort of how students can self-pace throughout their week, what the expectations are. Goals are differentiated for each kid based on their level of need in terms of reading and writing abilities and math abilities. And then we also look at habit of mind goals, social emotional skills for weekly lessons. Things like rock brain, getting stuck on ideas and unable to kind of move on from them. Things like the destroyer of fun, as we call it, the person who just gets too competitive or gets too serious about one thing and kind of ruins it for everybody. So we work on those skills. And at the end of the week, they reflect on, did I achieve my goals? Why or why not? What can I do better? And ultimately, it's about addressing those soft skills necessary for success. The time management, the pacing, the understanding my areas of weakness and strength, and how I can help sort of emphasize my strengths and hide some of my weaknesses. We also talk about what's awesome. Every morning we ask, hey, what's awesome? What's awesome in your life? What's awesome last night? What's going on? It's a chance for them to celebrate individual successes, share about their families. It's really a great time every morning. And then lastly, we kind of go over the schedule of the day and the expectations. Our days are a little fluid compared to a traditional classroom. So some days it's, hey, we got 2 classes and then we're headed to, Fieldstone Farms, which is a therapeutic riding center. Some days it's a more traditional, straightforward schedule like everybody else has, but it's also a chance to review those expectations. Susie, I know you had a hard time in Mrs. Smith's class yesterday. Let's make sure you remember the expectations. You know what you need to do. What do you need to take to class? And it really helps set up kids for success rather than kind of scrambling and helping and having them start the day off in a flustered mode. The other part we get to do in addition to academics is community-based learning. As we know, our options outside of school are limited and where we can go and what we can do. So we started kind of looking around our staff. We have a wonderful staff with a ton of amazing talents. And I sent out an email asking for people if they have half an hour in their day they can spare to teach us something cool, do something cool with us, do something hands-on, up moving, that's not sitting in a chair and doing schoolwork. So in the top right, I have Miss Trentinelli, who's an 8th grade social studies teacher. She taught all of her students how to sew and make their own masks, which, the boys were thrilled about using a sewing machine. Lower left, we have Mr. Airbar, who's a 6th grade science teacher. He taught us about throwing boomerangs and how to throw them and some of the physics behind that. That bottom middle, Miss McGarry, who's not pictured, is one of our STEAM teachers, is a yoga instructor. So she is teaching our kids yoga, which is a really great mindfulness skill to have for some of our students who need that redirecting and calming skills. And then the bottom right is Miss Jenkins, who is a long-term replacement teacher, intervention specialist, who's also a certified personal trainer, who is kind of puts our kids through a little workout every Friday morning, and you see them there doing planks. And that's ironically one of their favorite times of the week is that workout. So that's really cool to see. Mr.
Harris, I'm in the far right doing a plank.
Yes, yeah, you were just off the screen. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, doing a plank.
And then ultimately, we still are about student growth. I try to explain to parents, academics are always important, but we're also looking at some of those behavioral growth and the social emotional growth. So academically, we really focus on that Lexia and Dreambox, which is our reading intervention program, which is specially designed to each kid. It meets them at their levels. And that Dreambox program, which Mr. Shepard alluded to earlier, that is math-based. Each of our students complete more than recommended units a week. Respectively, they're 15 and 5. Our kids do upwards of 25 and 10. Really just help close some of those gaps. A lot of our students are very capable academically, but for one reason or another have some gaps that need to get filled in. So that's great programs for them, and kids like doing them, which is always a plus. Behaviorally, Ms. McLaughlin pulled some of the behavior data. The 12 students we had at this point last year had 99 referrals. This year they have 25. Which is a huge growth behaviorally. They are learning a lot of really great replacement behaviors. They're also in a safe environment where when they're having a hard time, it's, they kind of get hands off, and then we let them process and figure out and cope instead of, you're blowing up a class of 25 kids. So it's a really great situation for a lot of our students. And then last, we work at that social growth. Staff, when they're in electives or in classes, I've had multiple staff members say, Susie is so different from last year. She's engaging in class, she's talking to people, she's focused. And I think it's really that mentality of they feel a part of the school community, which for whatever reason they haven't maybe in the past. And then parent feedback. I know Ms. McLaughlin talks about it. Like I've had parents say, I no longer have to fight with my kid to get up and go to school. He's up and dressed and ready before I am. He's begging to go to school. And as parents of students at one point, my son is coming home and telling me about his day. You know, a 12-year-old telling his parent about a day is pretty cool to hear. So it really is a reflection on the things that I think we are doing as a staff and in our program that really is helping some of those students who, you know, have, for whatever reason, fallen through the cracks, really feel important and alive. And ultimately, the goal is to keep building those skills to help them be successful in high school and beyond.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
just a question.
Yes, sir.
So for those students that you're talking about, I have to imagine you feel it's most important for them to be in school for that to happen for them.
Absolutely.
If that was remote for them, they would not get what they're getting from you in that situation.
100%. And these students, to a man, they all really struggle with it, remote learning. And none of them are an attendance issue. Like, I get to the point where a kid's not there, I hope everything's okay. They all want to be in school 5 days a week. It is really a great experience for them. And you're right, remote learning, they need that social emotional connection and need to feel a part of something. When we look at like Maslow's hierarchy, we look at those kids who really are struggling for that sense of belonging. And that's what we're trying to provide for them through Bridge to Success.
Great job.
Thank you.
As you can see, there's a lot of great things that have come out of COVID, and we're already meeting on scheduling things for next year in terms of what we're going to keep, and be full disclosure, everything that we've talked about tonight, 90% of it we're going to keep and we're going to do because we think it's working. We know it's working just based on some STAR data that we have and some Dreambox data that we're starting to get in. So it's a scary time, but it's also a time where we can sit back and reflect and really come out of this with some really good stuff for kids and for our building. So again, we want to thank the board for the support. I also just want to publicly thank Dr. Kelly. You know, I was driving in this morning and I realized that he's the longest boss I've ever had as an educator, just as a person. And I've had 9 great years with him. I remember when we met him at the board office, he walked in with his wife and had a green tie on, and he was ready to lead Mayfield. And it's an honor to say that he was a boss of mine for 9 years. And just thanks for all the stuff he did for our building. If you look at our building in terms of the instruction that took place under his leadership and the actual structure of the building and the appearance of the building, with his support, we got a lot of it done. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Cincinnati. I have one friend down there already. I'll have 2 friends now in Cincinnati where I'll be able to go down and have a couple chicken wings with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe something to wash it down with, right? Some Pepsi or something. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So that's it.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for those words, Paul. I really appreciate that. And, you know, Mr. Harris, I just want to tell you, I just really, as a former special ed teacher and one who worked for many years with young adults with social and emotional, students and young adults with social and emotional and behavioral problems, the work you're doing is amazing.
Thank you so much.
You and your team are absolutely amazing. And the presentation in general is just fantastic. What's so impressive is how you're sharing the practices and how when others might have the urge to kind of fold up the tent during this time, you guys have ramped it up. You put up a new tent. You know, it's just incredible what the spirit you have. So just really impressed by it all.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that too. Similar to what you said, you know, I wrote a note down as you were going through this presentation, which a great presentation all for showing us everything that's going on there. And, you know, the positive culture that you have there, not just in your building. When you talk to parents outside of the building, it comes out into the district. We hear about it. And you guys are doing a great job. And one of the things I wrote down, going in the vein of what Dr. Kelly was saying, was that you've taken advantage of COVID. You don't let it take advantage of you. And I think you've grown from it. You found a lot of good things that you can continue to do, and you've taken advantage of it. So congratulations to you all, your staff, your certified, your classified staff have done an amazing job. Keep up the great work. I wish you the best holiday and New Year's. I hope that you take 2 weeks to enjoy your family and just power down for 2 weeks and enjoy what you've accomplished in this first half of the year.
Thank you.
And can you send out the Silent Night link?
Awesome.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
All right, thank you.
Awesome
No
job.
problem. Thank you.
Take care. Have a great night.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
So do we have, did Mr. Harris do his all access learning then? Is that part of the?
That was part, that was it. Yeah, that
All right,
was
so
it.
we did A and B. We knocked out A and B in one swoop. Good. All right, well, we'll go to the president's announcements. And tonight, I really don't have anything other than to thank everybody in the district, the staff, administration, all the staff, even the families in the community for what we've accomplished and what you guys have accomplished in this first half of the school year. And I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, healthy new year, very healthy new year. And like I said, take these 2 weeks, I hope, enjoy your families and power down. And then just be ready to go again. But great job. That's all I have for tonight. So we move on to our president. So section B, we have appointment of a president pro temp. It's recommended that the Mayfield Board of Education appoint Ms. Grosek as the president pro tempore to preside over its 2021 organizational meeting. I'll make the motion for approval. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hess. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Next, we have the superintendent's announcements.
I didn't have many announcements either. Just want to wish everybody happy holiday, happy new year, and, be safe and enjoy.
Thank you. Any board member committee reports for tonight?
No.
Nothing
No
tonight.
committee reports, but happy holidays to everybody.
Indeed.
Right. A safe and happy, healthy new year.
With an underlining of healthy,
Yeah.
All caps, right?
all caps.
Our next item on our agenda is our superintendent's consent agenda, items A through L. I'll make the motion for approval. Can I have a second, please?
So
Second,
moved.
Ms. Grosek was in a little bit earlier.
Yes,
Sorry.
she was.
That's quite all right.
sorry.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Next item, item 8, is our treasurer's report. A, financial statements for November 30th, 2020. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Teresi.
Yeah, I didn't want to step on your toes this time.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro,
Yes.
and Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next item is item B, financial transactions. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second. George.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro,
Yes.
and Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Everybody's being nice tonight, not naughty. I wonder why.
We got almost only one more week to go here.
There's an elf on the shelf.
Yeah. Our next item is donations. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
And thank you to the Center PTG and the Lander Elementary PTGs for their donations. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Next item is item D, tax advance pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code 321.34. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second. Mr. Hughes.
A lot of nice. A lot of nice.
Yeah. Roll call, Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Next item is letter E, Mayfield Excel Tech program fees. I make the motion for approval. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Letter F, we have an addendum. Number 1, the financial transactions. I'll make the motion for approval. Can I have a second?
second,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next section, number 9, other treasurer's business. We have A, the minutes for a regular meeting on November 18th, 2020, the special board meeting on November 19th, 2020, the December 1st, 2020 meeting, and the December 8th, 2020 meeting. That's a lot of meetings. I'll make the motion for approval. Have a second.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next item is the College Credit Plus Primary Partnership Agreement with Lakeland Community College for the 2021-2022 school year. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next item is C, addendum number 1, the construction manager at risk. Addendum number 1, attachment number 12. I'll make the motion for approval. Can I have a second, please?
second,
George. Mr. Hughes as the
Yes.
second. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Next item is addendum number 1, OSBA Legal Assistance Fund Consulting Services. Addendum number 1, which is attachment number 13. I'll make the motion for approval. Can I have a second, please?
So moved.
Tressi.
Yes. You got in for one.
He got in.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Next section is other board business. Letter A, we have the resolution in support of House Bill 305, the Fair School Funding Plan. I'll make the motion for approval. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes,
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
And Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next item is a walk-in addendum, resolution in opposition to House Bill 38. The property valuation complaint process changes. This is a walk-in addendum. I'll make a motion for approval. Can I have a second?
second,
And I'd like to just, I know, it was important for us for this resolution for that first one, for the support of the fair school funding, but this one here that we're talking about is really important that we get behind and opposing it. I know, Dr. Kelly, you had sent out a call to action, I think to maybe contact Senator Dolan and some others, because this could really hurt school districts. This could hurt our school district. And I think from the numbers I think I saw today from Mr. Snyder, that 31% of our revenue comes from businesses. And that's a big chunk of change. And I don't know if you want to expound a little bit on that, so that people know that this could be a serious thing if this goes through in the way that it is.
Sure, sure. I think it's important to state that there currently is a property valuation complaint process in Ohio. And this legislation attempts to expand that opportunity as a result of COVID. And while we support the additional ability by property owners to submit evidence to suggest that their property is now worth less, the difficulty here is it creates multiple opportunities within a 3-year time frame to make a property valuation complaint reduction, and it doesn't provide sufficient time for the county auditor to then reestablish what the effective tax rate is, recalculate it. Because when property values are reduced by the county auditor, there's a corresponding change to the effective rate, so the taxes that are collected and voted and approved and on the books are collected at the same relative value. So what this does is it expedites the process. It doesn't provide sufficient, representation at these hearings. And it's moving during a lame duck session at the end of this General Assembly's term, where they're running this thing through without any real thought, and it could have a devastating impact on this district, because if the county auditor can't readjust the rate, and I'll just throw this statistic out. I ran it quickly as you know, as I was listening to the middle school's presentation, that for every 1% reduction to our fair market values, this is district-wide, this includes residential and businesses as well, without any resetting of that effective tax rate, could result in $689,000 of property taxes in question. That's almost a $500,000. So it's very significant that this be at least opposed at this point, so that appropriate dialogue can happen among all stakeholders, because 93% of our operating revenue comes from local tax sources. So the state really isn't providing us the resources, and our community has stepped up, and they've been very supportive of us. And this just will continue to exacerbate that problem of an over-reliance on local property taxpayers. So they need to rethink this, and they need to provide a little bit more explanation and allow county auditors to also have a voice in talking about how this is going to impact not just schools, but cities and county governments as well that are funded through property taxes. I hope that helped.
It does. Yep. Thank you. I just wanted it out there because just looking at the resolution, you don't get that background of what this really can do, how this really can affect, like you said, not the district, but our cities we live in, and how it's going to affect us down the road. So I appreciate you going through with that. And thank you for sending out that call of action, Dr. Kelly. So we need a roll call.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
and Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next item is a walk-in addendum, a settlement agreement. I'll make the motion for approval. Could I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
and Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Our next item is an addendum item in memoriam. Mrs. Tula DeFoy recently passed away at the age of 93. Ms. DeFoy was had a long and valued teaching career, which continued over 30 years until she retired from Mayfield High School as the chair of the business department. Our condolences are extended to the family of Ms. DeFoy. And before we adjourn, if there's any other items, can bring it up now. If not, I wish you all happy holidays, happy new year, healthy, as we had said. Thank you for everything everybody has done. It's been a lot of work in this year, and we hope that 2021 is going to be a lot better and leave 2020 behind us. So thank you. And is there anything else? If not, I'll make the motion for adjournment. Have a second.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
and Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Happy holidays,
Great
everyone.
meeting.
Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Same to you all.
Stay
Safe.
safe. Stay safe. Yes.
Stay healthy.